terror. That's the only way I can describe it. Granted, a few nerves and maybe a bit of excitement, but mainly actual physical terror. The visceral kind that means you can't eat anything. It gets you in the stomach and you have to remind yourself to breathe. 35 years ago. Bobby Gillespie, Primal Scream, and if I screw up, I'm done.
We want to get loaded and we want to have a good time.
I feared this shoot would end my career before it even began. Instead, it changed my life and captured an iconic band on the edge of a fascinating transition, a reinvention that brought in raves and dance music and a whole new paradigm in the music industry. My first Enemy cover shoot. Just me, a bag of transparency film, an unwieldy, heavy Hasselblad camera, and a head full of imposter syndrome. As far as I can recall, I met the PR, who was called Lawrence, and Andrew Innes, the guitarist, in a tiny office in Mile End. We loaded them up into a borrowed Renault 5 and headed through the Blackwall Tunnel. I say we, it was just me on my own. Just the silence, the heat, the growing sense that I was in way over my head. Bobby's basement flat, which was located in a square of white stucco houses near the beach, was quite grungy. It felt like a student bedsit. This was before Brighton regenerated into London by the sea. In person, he was small, calm, serene even, like the leader of a cult or something. He had such a definite idea of what he wanted visually. Although he was shy and reserved, it was very obvious who was in charge. We looked at a few outfit options, some record sleeves to inspire. We flipped through his record collection, looking at the vinyl, trying to summon up a mood. And he decided on white jeans, a long-sleeved, hysteric glamour shirt, this cool Japanese label I'd never heard of. He looked otherworldly, pale, futuristic. We stepped onto the Brighton seafront, and although you can't really see it from the pictures, it was as if the town had been waiting for us. Scorching hot, heaving with people. It was more like Rio than the South Coast. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, a blue 50s Cadillac appeared. I've no idea who brought it. It was probably a ruse that came from the record label, but it tipped the scene into full-blown hysteria. Crowds formed instantly. People swarmed the car. Bobby, Andrew, and Throb, the main guitarist, climbed in, posed, didn't pose. It didn't matter. They couldn't hear my direction. It was utter pandemonium. I remember standing on the shoulders of the PR just to get a higher angle. It must have looked like a circus. I needed to see over the windshield and also exclude all the onlookers, trying to steady my hands, breathe, focus, anything. My whole body was shaking. The weight of it, the opportunity, the risk of completely blowing it. I should have just put my Hasselblad this way up. But I knew nothing back then. The light was horrible, harsh, overhead. It was noon on one of the hottest days of the year. There's no latitude with colour transparency either. Exposure has to be bang on. And you kind of get what you see. Back then, you handed over your originals to the magazine. In time, I would start to use negative film, which gave me an element of interpretation whilst printing in the darkroom. But this was really at the beginning of my life as a photographer. I was a total rookie. I kept shooting frame after frame, The white shirt, the chrome, the crowd, the chaos. Bobby somehow still and glowing at the centre of it all. In one frame, I photographed the chromed wheel of the car, and if you zoom into it, there I am, alongside Bobby, a skinny 24-year-old, completely out of my depth. It's like a time machine. Photography is like a time machine. As the light became better, softening towards the end of the day, I knew I had to get something simple and strong. Otherwise, there's no way I'd be getting a cover. I took Bobby aside, I grabbed him and led him away from the car and the crowd and down onto the beach. As well as the transparency film, I even managed to get a couple of rolls of black and white. I used a red filter to make the black and white look quite weird. I kind of regret that. Those images saved me. It meant I drove back to London exhausted, sunburnt, but quietly elated. At no point had I been in control. Not really. But through sheer bloody mindedness, I'd got something that could work. You don't know it at the time. It wasn't just a press shoot, it was something more. The pictures were evidence of a cultural shift in motion. Primal Scream were morphing, shedding indie, stepping into house, gospel, soul. Loaded wasn't just a track, it was a manifesto. And on that beach, in that heat, something shifted in me too. I went home a different person. Soon after, I saw the enemy cover. There he was, Bobby, in white, lit by the Brighton sun. It's a bit faded, it's 35 years old. He looked so pale and spectral. My name was there in the credit. Proof that I'd survived the day and maybe changed because of it. After that, I was different. I built back stronger. I wasn't just a better photographer. I think I was a more resilient human being. Because sometimes, without over-dramatizing things, you've got to walk through the fire. And Brighton, that was my fire. I do it very differently now. A decade later, and I shoot them again. No Andrew on this occasion, but the lineup included Martin Duffy and Manny from the Stone Roses. A different Primal Scream. A different me. Different pictures entirely. Maybe a story for another time. 14 years ago, I was asked by the Observer to photograph the Bestival Festival down in Dorset. And I managed to blag tickets for my kids. So I brought Fred, Polly and Oscar down with me. Oscar stayed in his tent, but Fred was much more into it. And one of the highlights of the weekend was Primal Scream and Fred being on my shoulders and me explaining the significance of Loaded. And that's one of the reasons we thought we'd do this video. So I hope you enjoy.